It's just, this is like radio stuff, man. Nice job.
This is like radio stuff. Ralphie May.
Equipment, rather. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. No, I wasn't being condescending in any way. Don't ever misunderstand me to be condescending unless I'm being condescending.
Okay.
You'll be able to tell.
I think so.
Like, this is the condescending tone. Really? Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's every comic's condescending tone.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's
sure.
such an amazing word, isn't it?
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, come on. So Ralphie May's in the garage, just got here. I'm going to leave the air conditioner off. Brought a sidekick with you.
Yeah, a pal of mine, buddy, Billy Wayne Davis, who works with me all around the country. Very funny, a Seattle comic via Nashville. And
are you living in Nashville?
We have a house there. We have a house here. We split our time between the two.
When did you go to Nashville?
About 3 years ago.
Really? You and your wife?
Yeah, my wife. We
got babies?
We do. We have two children, 2 and 4. My daughter just turned 4. Actually, she turns 4 on the 5th.
Because, I mean, I can't remember the first time I met you, but I think you were 12.
I think I was, actually, I do. I think it was 92, and it was, I was 18. No, 20.
Here?
20.
In L.A.?
Here. Yeah.
And you were like living on someone's floor, or living with Jay Moore, or sleeping on a couch, or did we hang out? Did we get high? I don't think I was sober yet.
No, you weren't. We were. You started off with marijuana, then gradually progressed to powders and other stuff, and had
with
a great
you.
time. Oh no, I never did the white. Okay, I knew I was fat. Okay, I was very self-aware, and I knew the knowledge.
You wanted to live a little bit.
Yeah. I still had a lust for life at that point.
But did we hang out and get high?
Yeah. We
at someone's house
at the last stop in Houston. Okay, when
shit.
Babbitt brought you in with and Mitch Hedberg was your feature.
Really?
And I was your opener.
Oh shit.
And I was 20 years old.
Really?
Yeah. And I was blown away by you. That's why I always call you Mr. Maron, because I thought you were one of the funniest comics I'd ever seen. And I'd worked with Bill Hicks. I fucked that MC job up. I called him Bill Hacks the first night.
You did not.
I did. I swear to God.
On purpose?
No, I didn't know. It was the first sold out room that Sandy Marcus at the Last Stop had ever put me in. And Bill wanted someone who didn't sound like him. They said, I don't care who it is.
Sleep tight.
He was like, just get somebody is not doing me. Okay?
Oh, that's
Which
hilarious.
was a very hard thing to find at that point.
And how old were you?
To know. When I worked with Hicks, 19. And when I worked with you, like 6 months later, I just turned 20.
God, that must have been near the end of Hicks's thing.
Yeah.
He must have been, on his way out. So you've been doing this since you were like what, 17?
17, yeah.
Now, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town, Arkansas.
Who the hell grows up there? What is that like? Is it as bad as we think?
Yes and no. I mean, it's naive. Okay, it's definitely naive. It lacks a sophistication and a worldly view, but I gained that through Boy Scouts. At 14, I was in Australia. I was on staff at the World Jamboree in Australia. And so I had a more worldly view than my town. Like, at like 7, I read a map and I'm like, fuck, we can leave. Look at all these exits. What are we doing here?
But I can't characterize it. Like, what did you grow up? When people say Arkansas, you think, hill people. You think
there was a lot of them.
But
we lived in the foothills, a little town called Clarksville, and there was definitely hillbillies. But there was also, city people that worked and, were educated. And we had a little university in our town, and so it was.
What was your family like, though?
Mine was fucked up, man. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 2. And we moved to Arkansas when I was 5, my mom's hometown. And my grandmother gave us one of her rent houses to live in. Yeah. And it had holes you could see through the wall. You could wave to somebody at your wall. Really? And in the winter, it was all plasticed up inside, like Dexter was about to kill somebody. Okay, all right. And I remember my buddy Russell Bryant. He stayed over at my house, and we were under. It was in the winter, and we were under like 20 pounds of blankets. I mean, it was just quilt because the heater didn't work that well. Okay, in the
How many
house.
kids in the family?
The 4.
There were 4 of you and your mom.
And my mom. And my dad didn't pay child support on a regular basis, and moved from state to state to state to avoid paying child support.
Oh shit!
And do
you know that guy?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm fine with it, man. Because dealing with my mom as an adult, I realize she is crazy. And so I can't imagine being married to her. And you know, so I got it, you know, and he tried to have contact, and my mom she had a house paid for, a big, like 6,400 square foot house in Tennessee paid for, and in 3 years managed to lose it. Okay, she's horrible with money.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, I had y'all set up to where I would see you every week. Okay, I would see you every night if necessary. And your mom, she's just crazy. She can't deal with it. And I'm like, and we've had conversations, and I'm like, I know, but she's my crazy mom. I love her. You know, I mean, just because you got a mental dysfunction doesn't mean you get discounted on love. But it was,
money.
But yeah,
discounted on money.
Yeah,
Apparently.
yeah, and it was tough, man. You know, my mom had more pride than sense, and she worked jobs and she took herself to school in their mid-40s to be a nurse, and
she doing that?
And she's doing great. She's still nursing, and she's going back to Houston. I had her retired, and that's another story. But you know, I'm the youngest of four, and
so you gave her money to stop working.
Yeah,
and then that went wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So now you more identify with your father.
Yeah. Now there's no helping it. I mean, when you want to live like you're a multimillionaire and you're a retiree, that just doesn't make any sense, you know.
What did she buy? Cars?
She bought a car, but she also had my brother talk her into buying 90 acres in Arkansas instead of paying for a house. Okay, I gave her a lot of money, and people don't understand what in this business what it takes to make a lot of money.
Not easy.
Is you have to almost more than double what it takes, what you get when you take 20% off the top and taxes and all expenses.
Or you mean
20%
for management and agents?
Okay, and then from there, I mean, it takes everything down. So it's like I have to make twice as much as this. Okay, this is more than this is 2 years of your salary here. Here you go. Okay, and you're upper middle class. Here you go.
Yeah.
And pay for a house, have no bills, have to be some. My brother didn't want to. She was going to move in with my brother and his family, okay, and he ended up divorcing his wife this year, and it's just a mess. So they got this big house up there that he talked my mom into buying, and built an all brick house in the middle of the woods. Who does that?
Someone from Arkansas.
Exactly. And 6,000 square foot. You're absolutely I take no offense, and no one from Arkansas should take offense. That's exactly what my brother is. He was a townie.
Yeah.
He never wanted to leave. Like, he thought everything outside of Clarksville, Arkansas is horrible. The further you get away from it, the worse you are from the center where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I was the direct opposite. I mean, I didn't even wait to pick up my diploma. I mail it to me. Okay, I was out. I was doing comedy. That fall, I was part of a beginning scholars program at the University of Arkansas when I was 16, 17, and I was a full-fledged college student. I was going for free and going to high school, and I got a chance to open up for Sam Kinison, and Sam had told me to move to Houston.
How old were you?
I was 17.
How old are you now?
I'm 39.
So that's 22 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what year was that?
That was 1989.
Okay, so Sam, I knew Sam at that time. Okay.
Yeah, and he was huge. He was
just he was peaking, and he was coming into that third album probably, or maybe just did the second album.
Right.
Like,
he was working on both of them.
Have You Seen Me Lately? But Hotter Than Hell was out.
Right.
So the leader of the band and Have You Seen Me Lately, that's where he was at there. He was playing music too. He had long hair. He's dressing a little, no more trench coats, a little more rock and roll. Right. Got it. So where was he playing?
The University of Arkansas Ballroom. Okay, 3,500 people.
How'd you get that gig?
I won a talent show contest from the K-Hog radio station. Had open because comedy was so hot, and they had it at the Shakey's Pizza.
And I remember when you were younger, you were kind of influenced by Kinison, right? I mean, you screamed a little, didn't you?
Well, yeah. When he said, if you get mad, verbalize it. It draws their attention.
Yeah.
And he always said, change your inflection and your volume while you're speaking, and you will draw them in more because they'll have to listen harder.
So Those are preacher tricks.
Those are preacher tricks. Okay. And he, and bring him in and don't be afraid of silence. He was the first comic who said, don't be afraid of silence.
This is a conversation you had with him after the gig?
He kind of he was nicer to me than he was most comedians.
So you opened for him on this, you were a prize winner.
Yeah,
so he was probably, initially he was probably like, fuck
exactly.
it,
And he fucked me. Here's how he fucked me. We were riding in the limo.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd been in a limo, okay?
And you were with him or just going to the gig?
I was with him, and Bill Kennison was there. And he goes, kid, are you nervous? And I'm like, no. He goes, kid, there's going to be 3,500 people there, and nobody paid to see you. and I'm like, oh man, okay. I'm a little nervous.
Sweet guy.
And he goes, do you have a good closer? And I go, I did, but I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. And I go, I don't know what that is. He goes, all right. It's a big joke at the end of your show to end your show with on a bang. Here, use one of my old ones, okay? Just start screaming and yelling at the audience and insulting them. The more you insult them, the more they'll love it. And then when you're done, put the mic on the phone and say, go fuck yourself and get off the stage. They'll love it. Really? Yeah, okay. So I'm doing really well for about 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, I'm killing local references, local jokes, 17-year-old jokes, you know? And I flip a punchline and a setup. I get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
And then I don't do the other punch after that with any enthusiasm, and I look weak. And in comedy, it's all about confidence.
Yeah.
If you're not holding their attention, you're not sure what you're doing, they're not going to be sure.
Yeah.
And so I was panicking. And I remember what Sam had said, so I started railing on these people. All right, I was like, go fuck yourselves, y'all Ned Beatty, pig fucking, y'all fuck your mothers, okay?
Yeah.
And these horrible diatribe of curses and amateur cursing, too, you know, just stuff that was like, really?
You weren't that confident with the cursing?
No, not even that good. All right, and 3,500 people in unison. Boo!
Yeah.
Boo! Okay, and I go off. I'm welling up.
Did you drop that? Did you drop that mic?
No, I put that mic back and just laughed. I was so humiliated. I was like, oh my god! All right, and I had tears in my eyes. All right, and then I go out and with no music, no fanfare. Sam Kennison comes out going, can you believe that kid coming out here talking to you good people like that? Oh, he would never do comedy again.
No, he didn't.
I'll squash him like a bug. All right, and now the tears are just rolling because this is my dream, This is what I want to do. And I go backstage and find a payphone.
Yeah.
And I'm calling my mama Collect to come pick me up because I left the Cutlass at Shakey's Pizza.
To get the limo.
Yeah, to get to ride in the limo. I never ridden in a limo. And I was calling Mom, and Bill Kennison came up and hanged the phone up and said, Sam thought that was the funniest fucking thing he'd ever seen. He laughed. He loved how you just blindly did exactly what he wanted, all right, and did it fabulous. Plus, they hate you so much. Now they love him because he was getting protested then by women's groups.
Right.
And the one at the university had already protested.
You took a hit for the team?
Apparently, okay. But I was totally fucked. Okay, I can't take any credit for it. You're like, yeah, I was team player. But I instantly realized, like, oh my God, I'm getting another shot at this.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
Welcome to show business.
Yeah, right.
That's how politics works.
And then he took me they invited me to the after party, okay, which was no place for a 17-year-old. I got to be honest with you, I'm 39. I would be uncomfortable being at that party. I mean, there were rails of blow, and it was yellow.
Yeah.
It was that old school blow.
That cat piss Coke?
Yeah.
It's like cut with like gasoline. That's not very good Coke.
I don't know. But,
yeah.
And then, and I mean, but there was just big rocks.
That's sad. That must have been the beginning of the decline for Sam, where the Coke wasn't even fucking white.
Man, it was
dirty Coke.
Dirty Coke. It was like chalk. Like they had like another thing of like chalk like that. I mean, just big blocks, rocks, and cutting it up and grinding it, and people were doing bumps, and there was booze everywhere, and me, I've got a beer in a red cup, and I've already poured half of it out.
So you would get sick?
So I'm acting like I'm fucking hot shit. I'm not. And Sam comes out of one of the rooms in the suite, and goes, kid, order some pizza, all right, and tell him we want beer. Okay, all right, no problem. So I called the guy.
Wow, man, you got the job awfully quick.
Well,
here's $200.
No, just call him.
Yeah.
Call him. Okay. So I ordered like 10 pizzas. There's like 30 people here. Sam would do a line and eat a piece of pizza.
Yeah.
That's how degenerate he was. That he was a cokehead and he could eat like a pig at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Those are juxtapositions.
Yeah, yeah.
He
was a pro.
And he.
You got to be well fortified to do that much blow.
Yeah, right. You got to put some pizza on top of it. And so the guys deliver the pizza, and Sam comes over and pays the guy, and then out of his pocket pulls out 3 little gram bags of Coke.
Yeah. And
leave it on the thing and go, thanks. All right. And like 20 minutes later, we get a phone call. Hey, you guys need more pizza? Okay. All right. And I woke up on the couch, and there was a naked girl was walking by me. Okay.
And this was in a hotel?
In a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was some other people still there. But I saw like 3 naked women.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
And Sam comes up and goes, I like you. You know that? What are you doing here? All right. Because he was from like it was like Oklahoma.
Right.
He was in Oklahoma. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm going to school. And he goes, are you really that young? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, go to Houston. Go to Houston. Go to the workshop. Those fuckers are funny.
Did the workshop
assholes.
even exist still?
This was in
89?
89. And then by the time I got there in September because I went to Baltimore first. I
Why?
lived with a sister there in Baltimore in her basement and had a job and was doing comedy around there in D.C. Because I wanted to be closer because I thought I was like a political comic. And
you were a political comic?
A little bit, trying to be, I've since dropped the politics and gone to more social issues,
What kind of politics were you doing when you started? Was that 90 what?
90, 91, 92.
What was the angle? You decided you were going to D.C. and you were living with your sister. You got a job. You're doing what? Open mics?
I was doing open mics.
What were the clubs like? Were you doing both black and white clubs?
Yeah. And I only did that for like 4 months. And then...
What was your political angle?
I'm a conservative Democrat. Okay, basically is the thing that that we've got to be better to our poor because we're making too many of them.
Yeah,
and like a modified social that's not a progressive idea. Is that I think there's too much murder in this country to be as civil as we are. Okay, we're amazingly uncivil and we're very violent, and it's because the ramifications aren't enough. I think that if you're a violent criminal, you've opted out of the Constitution because the first 3 letters are "We the People." Okay, and I think it's
so you're
important
saying pro death penalty,
definitely
sympathetic to the poor, pro-gun,
a little bit, yeah.
Okay with gay people,
very, yeah. And 90, that was a very interesting perspective. Pro-drug, gay people, it was a very homophobic time.
But you got no problem with social programs?
I need to be trimmed back because at a point the people begin to atrophy.
But you're not a libertarian necessarily.
No. I think government has a definite role in place, and that as a nation we need to remember that we were the first to have freeways that span over twice the distance as Europe. Okay, and we did it in a generation. We built dams, but our best nuclear facilities are 30 years old. I mean, why have we stopped embracing the future and moving towards a better containment, better design?
Nuclear energy or weapons as well?
No, nuclear energy. Energy is, that's the only way to do it. But, we shut down the collider, and then in Switzerland and France, they've done it. They made the God particle.
So when you were in D.C., you used to play black rooms, right?
Yeah, I played a lot of them, and because they were the only ones who put me up. The white clubs wouldn't let me in because I wasn't over 21, and so I lived there outside of Baltimore, close to Loch Raven, and then my mom was like, "You got to go to college. You got to go to college." She was living in Houston with my sister, and they were all working and doing great. Houston was in a boom. And
let me just ask you before we get to Houston. Because there's not a lot of dudes. There's not a lot of white dudes that, you know, had success in black rooms. And there's a certain type of white comic that can do it.
Yeah.
Now, and you found that you could do it.
Yeah. I was.
Why?
I think, honestly, is that black people have an empathy with someone who's different. I think they feel it more resonantly than white people do.
Different how?
When black people are looked at different. They're when they're walking on the street.
Yeah.
White people will lock their doors. When a white guy right in front of them walked closer to the car,
right,
and they didn't do anything, but because they're black, there's a perception.
Yeah.
And they come. It's endemic in what the black experience has been in this nation. I mean, for 300 years they were beaten.
Right.
And
so what does that have to do with you?
Learned is that I realized that because I was fat, that I was different, and that I also, you know, wanted anyone to be a friend with, and I wasn't, you know, I liked hip hop music. I could talk it because I enjoyed it. You know, I thought it was a new art form. It was poetry and music.
So that was your thing? Because I mean, even now you have a sort of cadence. There's a cadence that you have.
Yeah, but it also comes from being a Southern guy. I mean, you pick up a certain... Yeah. I mean, I was born in Tennessee, raised up in Arkansas, then I moved to Texas when I was 18. So, I mean, I'm Southern as it gets.
All right, so you get to Houston. Who's on the scene?
The scene was really, really good, but it was all 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
Okay? I was the youngest guy who'd come through there since Bill. And so everybody, because I wasn't as good as Bill, everyone immediately discounted me. Okay, and I was doing more fat jokes.
Because you were young.
Yeah, because I was young. I was trying anything, and fat jokes kept on getting the biggest punch, so I just kept on fucking pommeling with them. And a comic named Dante Garza and Charlie Shannon came to me and said, hey, why don't you got to decide, okay, whether you want to be a fat comic or a comic that just happens to be fat.
Yeah.
And it resonated with me, and I was humiliated by the truth that I was just leaning on this thing fucking too hard, and that I was just being this fat joke, predictable, that how could that ever last for 30 minutes or 45 minutes? How could I ever be a headliner if that's all I did and subsist on that alone? You know, you have to say something. And I was under their tutelage, you know. I was amazed. I learned everything about comedy from those guys, and even though the workshop had been closed down, that Dean of Coke was washed out. It was run. I landed at the comedy showcase that was run by a comedian named Danny Martinez, who's one of the smoothest comedians I've ever seen. He can go up and talk for an hour, and he was doing it was like a Mexican Cosby. And he would never curse, and he was smooth as shit and funny, wicked funny, standing ovations every show. And when he was done when he got down to the bottom of his cigar. All right, and says, "Good night, folks." And it was like a one-man show. Every time he would talk comedy with me, and I didn't have a father. He kind of took me under his wing and taught me how to be a man a little bit. And what
were those lessons? Could you share them with me? I'm not sure I have them.
I think you probably do. You know, responsibility, you know, work on your craft, you know. And like he asked me how much time I think I had, and I said 15. He goes, "You maybe have 5." You know, underestimate, you know, and be real. And taught me the ins and outs and the tricks, and you know, there was a really good supportive movement. The Laugh Stop, there was 150 open micers, and they do open mics, and comics were making gigs for themselves, and there was so much good things going on. I mean, in Houston, it was incredible. And
you were 21?
21, and I got a job in a bar. That was my day job. You know, I was a bartender and doorman at a bar called The Pig, and in Houston, which is just moving coke or just turning a blind eye to coke was the best way to make money. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
If whatever you want to do, that's the guy you want to talk to. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. And
the hookup.
Yeah, I was the go.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, these workshop comics, man, they didn't like me because I started moving up really fast. Like once I got into this, I started moving up, and they would. Like this happened one time to me. This is a mean fucking comedy trick. I I had these gigs closing for Marty Schilling. It was Friday, Saturday in North Houston, and then the Sunday night in Galveston. You stay the night in Galveston, wake up the next day, you're on the beach, have a nice time, right? You know, those guys, they taught me a lot, but I had these gigs, and then they called me up on Thursday, and acting like a booker from the Valley, who wanted me to do 2 shows, and I was going to make $2,000, and this one I was only going to make, $650, and so I called Marty, and I go, could I get out of these gigs, because this gig is there, I don't want to upset you, and I don't want to put you in a bad way at all. All right, and they were like, no, this comic called just a minute ago. I'll get him to fill in, no problem. Yeah. You go make that money, good for you, and we'll get you next month. And I'm like, really? That's so nice, thank you. So I called that guy back, and I go, yeah, I'm in. And he goes, okay. So I drove 12 hours, and there was no gig.
A comic did that?
Yeah. And
what the fuck?
They hated me.
That's horrendous.
It's horrendous.
Why'd they hate you that much?
They thought I was a hack, okay, and they because there's no way a guy...
You got names?
I don't want to throw people under the bus. Some of them aren't even in the business anymore.
Well, there you go.
It's like, and none of them are as successful as I am. So if I do it, it's just kind of bitter and cunty.
All right.
And
you're doing the right thing.
And they were doing it as a collective.
I mean, it's one thing to be punked or to be funny, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it cost me...
Make some kid drive 12 hours?
And that's 12 hours there, 12 hours back, okay, with no money. And it was at the end of the month. And the guy who took it made fun of me when I went to open mic on Monday. I go, man, I just totally got fucked by this booker. And they're like, that was us, All right, they were totally fucking rude, man. And they all, and it's weird because once you get labeled a hack, here's what happened. I was 18 at an open mic, and I was leaving the open mic as T-Shine Shannon was performing. And then 2 weeks later, I was at the comedy showcase, and Captain Rowdy, Frank Lunny, was performing, and he was really, really a great comedian.
Yeah.
Okay, Captain Rowdy was one of the really, and dark. Everybody likes Jim Norton now, and he was doing Norton in 90. Okay, but better.
Yeah.
Okay, he was doing it better than Dice was doing it. He was really, really good. And just a smooth comedian and fucking funny and likable dirty, okay, filthy. And I gave him this joke, and it's been done 1,000 times since by different comedians, okay, and it wasn't specific, but because we realized where it happened. The joke is, so I was butt fucking this guy, and afterwards he wants to cuddle. What a fag.
Yeah.
Okay. That joke, you've seen that in 1,000 ways.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And, T-Shine was there that night, okay, to watch Captain Rowdy, all right, and I told Rowdy, hey, do this joke, I was butt fucking this guy, and so I gave T-Shine's joke to fucking Captain Rowdy, okay, unbeknownst. That's the only way it could have happened, all right. And,
so that was T-Shine's joke?
Yeah, T-Shine's joke.
Yeah.
And T, went fucking crazy, and Charlie goes, hey, the kid doesn't know anything. Nobody talks to him. Okay? I didn't know the rules. Okay? I didn't know because nobody was fucking helping me. They all hated me. And, Charlie calmed it down and then told T what happened, and he goes, yeah, I guess, I'm going to stop that joke anyway because I'm sure somebody else is doing it. But, he and T, Charlie and T-Shine and Frank all forgave me. But everybody else just gave him reason to hate me. And so I got to a point where I wouldn't even go in and watch a comedian at open mics. Like I would never watch stand up. I had to almost develop in a vacuum and develop amongst comedians that
out of fear.
Out of fear for being labeled. Just the label alone will fucking kill you.
Well, so you're 21 years old. Do you think that the bullying had anything to do with your weight?
Yeah.
Because I just seems that you take a lot of shit to begin with.
Yeah.
And they feel like they can, that you can just absorb it and fucking take that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were really horrific. Who was nice? Thea Vidal was nice.
She's a sweetheart.
Thea said, fuck those ungrateful bastards. They're just mad because they're not as funny as Sam or Bill. All right. And when those guys were telling them to get on the train to Opportunity, they were at the bar having another drink.
But isn't that true about Texas? That the shadows of those two guys hung over that fucking scene forever.
Forever, man. And everybody, it was like, there were so many Hicksian comedians.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah.
And Austin was worse, man. Austin was worse verse about them because they were so fucking good too. You know, Disciples of Bill Hicks. You know, Tom Hester. Yeah, Tom Hester. He's an incredible comedian. All right. And he was really, really good, but he was doing Hicks. Kinda, you know, but he was also doing his own thing too. And it was just, he was the only one that I saw was like, who'd taken a Hicksian influence and actually expounded upon it and ingrained himself and like infused himself with the Hicks thing.
So what made you, what made you finally say, I gotta get the fuck out of here?
I was going to, cause I wanted to go, instead of seeing what these comics in Houston were doing, I would save up my money and I would fly to Los Angeles and put myself up in a little shit hotel, the Farmer's Daughter Hotel.
Oh yeah, down on Fairfax?
Yeah, and I would go watch, and I would pay to go watch what the top comedians were doing. And I'd see all these guys, and I was like, I'm not that far away. I'm not that far away.
Yeah.
I know. I could do it.
So you would actually take a trip to LA just to pay for comedy shows?
Yeah.
You didn't even have enough, and no friends here?
No friends. And I went and saw The Price is Right once.
At CBS?
Yeah,
because you saw the people standing on line?
Yeah, and I was telling jokes out there. And
wait a minute, you told jokes to the line?
Yeah, I was telling jokes. I was being funny in the line and stuff like that.
Like in an organized way?
Kind of. I just start and people would turn their attention. They're waiting in line. They might as well be entertained. And I get people laughing.
You did stand up on line.
And the producers wanted me to where are you going to be seated? We want to put you on an aisle. Okay. And I was going to be moved in, and then they didn't. They switched me back. I guess I was too fat. I don't know. All right. But I was funny. And, but I would come out and I would go to New York to watch.
Who were you seeing in LA though? Like, what resonated with you?
Oh man, Gary Shandling, I thought was a genius.
At the Comedy Store?
And no, at the Improv.
Oh yeah.
And then I saw Tim Allen. I saw he was a beast.
Was that like 91, 92?
91, 92. And 93, you know, as Sam, I said Sam everywhere, and he take me on his wing, and we'd go walk down from the Comedy Store and go eat at Carney's.
Sure, have a dog.
Yeah, and are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm trying, man. I want, you know. And he goes, those cocksuckers are being dicks, aren't they? And I'm like, yeah, they kind of are. And he'd load me up with cheeseburgers. Take these cheeseburgers, all right? And you know, and he was like, you know, you could come out here, you could stay at my house, you could, you know, clean up a little, you know, help me, you know. I can't. My mom still wants me to go to college, and he's like, okay, but if you want to, you know, if they're giving you shit, and he would upset his old buddies at the Laugh Stop that were from in Houston when he'd come back, because he had me open for him, and they were really pissed. I mean, they were all mad because they'd come up with him, right?
So you had to get out of town at some point, just because those. And
I was headlining already around Texas, and I did. I couldn't take it. I thought I was going to quit. And my buddy Mike Jorgensen, who was the residential manager, he was doing stand up, residential manager of the Four Seasons, got me a job cooking. And
so you're opening for Kennison and you're cooking?
Yeah. You know, when he comes into town, I would do the shows that week, but to make ends meet, you know, I had a
line cook?
And a sous chef. I moved up, and the guy liked me. I had a lot of personality, had a lot of heart. Yeah, I can really cook. And he got a job at Nola's, Emeril Lagasse's restaurant in New Orleans, and asked me if I wanted to come over. So I looked into it. I drove over. I fell in love with the city. I thought it was cool as shit. And I loved the music. I loved the scene. And I rented a back room, a house, and knew nobody in the city. Would go to work, smoke weed with the black dishwashers afterwards, go to Felix's for oysters, drink beer, come back and realize I hated beer. It was like,
how long were you there?
6 months. And then
working in Nola?
At Nola's. And
as a sous chef?
As a sous chef, yeah. There's a bar where you can cook in front of people. People come up to have private dining. Yeah. All right, and they taught me how to cook their food, and I can't remember how to do it. Jesus, it's memorization. Yeah. No big deal. And because I could talk to them and entertain them, I'd get them. They would sell more wine to them. They would, you know, I had they wanted me to be the face of the place.
So
okay?
what do you like to cook now?
I still like third coast cuisine. I still like, Texas, Louisiana.
And you like, do you entertain? Do you cook for your wife?
I do. And,
can you butcher a pig?
I can. I have. I've sorted out hog before. It's a messy business, but somebody's got to do it. I cook really well. Heavily French influence. You can't get this big by accident. It's not osmosis. You got to put some heart into it.
Yeah.
And, I was having a great time, but I was doing on the weekends. I was doing Comedy Zone gigs, all their Southern runs. Yeah. Okay, I was doing all the Louisiana run, the Mississippi, Alabama, Florida gigs, Coconuts. I was working the punchline. Yeah. Okay, and I would do that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then back in New Orleans on Sunday morning to work that night to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Jesus Christ, you had you lived like 4 lives. So you were on the path to becoming a cook, really.
Yeah, and comedy they were moving me up at places. I'd get to places, then on the second night they'd have me headlining because the guy said I blew him off the stage, and I thought that was what you're supposed to do, is be the best you can.
Well, how much
is it? That's not the best way to do it.
But to be a killer middle, you're going to piss off a couple headliners.
Yeah.
I had some karma from that. Eventually, as a headliner, you're going to take the hit. Like there's a couple weeks where, like, I used to do that, and I knew I did it. Because all you got to do really is close really big, and they're gonna, depending on who they are, they've got.
You got the easiest spot, man.
It's a great spot, but I remember that, like, anytime it happens to me now, if a middle hands me my ass, one show or 2 shows a week in a little bit of a way, I'm like, I had it coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got this. This is mine.
It's his night.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that. This is like 96.
But how much do you think, honestly? What do you think it is about the weight that? Because you said that coming into the garage.
People are easily dismissive of overweight people. They statistically, people, if on just picture to picture, they think that the more overweight you are, the dumber you are, and that the more of a victim you are. And I wasn't trying. I had a life-changing event at 16. I got into a major car wreck, and my ass got handed me a big old plate of humble pie, and I had to eat it because I was at the mercy of other people.
What happened? You almost died?
Yeah, I did die, actually. I was in a car wreck. I broke 42 bones.
42 bones?
64 separate breaks. I broke my 3 vertebrae in my lower back and fractured 2.
You went through the windshield?
I bounced in and around of a 84 Chevy Silverado truck. Rolled it 4 to 5 times, flipped it 5 to 6 end over end, and then rolled it more down a hill. Wrapped around a tree, and my legs were crushed. Both femurs were broken.
Oh, God.
When the steering wheel came
Jesus
down
Christ.
on it. And it was a mess, man. I was only conscious for like a car rolled over and was laying on its side, and gas was pouring out on me, and I was conscious for like maybe a minute and a half, and then I woke up 12 days later in a hospital in Russellville, and they had put me in a drug-induced coma to
set the shit.
To reduce brain swelling. I had 3 concussions, and I had if you look right here, I got a little scar right there where they had a halo brace on, and they had already stabilized my vertebrae, but in the back I had a hole that was drained off fluid. I had a shunt to my head to allow the brain to expand without causing more brain damage, and I was spinal swelling for 10 months. I was basically wheelchair bound, worked to be able to walk and stuff, and I broke a lot of bones, and I was a mean guy before. I was a dick, I was a bully, and there was a kid that I went to school with named Paul Johnson. He was a grade below me, but we went to the same church, and I wasn't in church for Jesus. I was just there for the social, you know. And it was fun, it was something to do on Sunday, and it was a good meal. It was hanging out with your buddies. It was a good time, and I'd be nice to Paul on that day, on Sunday. And then Monday through Friday, I would participate, if not initiate, hateful slurs at him because he was a gay kid. and he was very effeminate, and he's a sweetheart of a guy, and I participated in that, and so I was a liar. I was lying to myself. I was lying to who I was, and on Sunday I was lying in the face of God.
So one-on-one, you were a nice guy, and you really liked the guy, but because it was
part of a group mentality, and he was weaker. That I fed on it, and after the first couple of weeks, my friends wouldn't come visit me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 48 days.
Why?
They had other stuff. They had already moved on,
Okay.
All right. And it was 30 miles, and Paul, his mom would drive him down, and he'd bring all my schoolwork. He did also all voluntarily. All right. Even though and kept me where I didn't have to miss a year of school. And, he was there every day. So when I finally got back and I was walking and I had some juice, this was my senior year, I was still kind of strong. I'd rehabbed enough to where I had some of my strength back before. And, I shoved a guy's head who was fucking with Paul into a locker and broke his nose, and, kicked his leg out from under him, his knee, and hurt his knee, and kicked him in the fucking head. And I said, nobody fucks with this kid anymore. And, it was amazing what that did, but because I finally paid my friend back for all this shit, and I was like, this guy's gonna have a fucking decent year. He's not gonna get fucked with this year. And, I lost touch with him after I left Clarksville, and I was in, Dallas, Texas. And he came up to me and said that
after
changed
a
his
show?
whole life. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. And like 20 years later, and it was very humbling.
What did he say? He changed his whole life?
Yeah, I changed my whole life. It was like he was out, and he was he was like, thank you so much. You really made life easier for me, and I really appreciate it. You're a good guy. And it's weird. I've had those things since, and it was strange. It was a strange thing. So I moved back after New Orleans to Houston, and I was doing defensive driving, and so I was getting really good at defensive driving. I was teaching at the Comedy Showcase and making money doing that.
You teaching driver's ed?
Yeah, driver's ed.
For people that wanted to get points off of their record?
Well, in Texas, you could get any traffic violation expunged and receive the same time a 10% discount on your insurance.
And that was done through the Comedy Club, because they did that here, right?
Right.
And they had comics teaching that shit. Yeah.
And they had comics teaching it. And for me, it was just being in front of an audience for 6 hours and making people that hate my fucking guts and don't want to be there laugh their balls off. And to where people would come I had guys coming 6-7 times. I go, man, I must suck as a teacher. They go, no, it's me. Okay, it's not you. I get good knowledge, but at least I come here and I'm entertained. Yeah. And I got developed a real big following from that. And it just gave me more confidence. Yeah.
No, getting back to before I forget the train of thought we were on before on the weight thing, is that because you said that people think that fat people are either dumb or victims, and I think also that isn't there so you're basically saying that when a guy who's heavy can speak up for himself, it's almost like you
who are you arrogant prick,
or like you've won a fight, because you're not like the kind of guy that's going to be like fuck you. Well, you are kind of, but but you've seen when people see a guy your size, speaking up for himself, because a lot of heavy dudes, they're ashamed of themselves, right? So you've somehow transcended that shame.
Yeah, it's
you've won somehow.
Yeah, and it's and I had girls, Mark. There was that's another thing that they were dismissive of. If I got a girlfriend, they would. Those comics were so fucking vile. They would go after her. Like if I brought her around, okay, they would go after her, all right, and make up all this shit. They did it to my now wife. We were together in 1998, and she's an open micer, and I was teaching defensive driving, and I came to open mic at about 9 o'clock to spend time with her, right? And I come there, and she immediately takes me outside and goes, they're telling me you're a hack, you're a thief, you're a joke thief, that you're an asshole, that you're lying to everybody saying I'm fucking you, and they know it's a lie and stuff like that. And the truth is, the night before was the first time we had actually made love.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was desperately in love with her.
So did you say, but I am fucking you?
No, I said I didn't I didn't have the wherewithal, but it was because I was so infuriated that these fucking miserable fucks had done this to me that I wanted to fucking strangle them. And it came down that, I go, let's get him here. And none of those guys would look me in the fucking eye. They all knew what they had done to me. And I called them all cunts to their fucking face. And I said, you're a bunch of loser fucks. You're jealous of me. You always have been. All right. Go fuck your mothers. All right. If anybody wants to fucking do something, let's go outside. And I fucking had my baseball bat, and I was ready to fucking whip their ass in front of the laugh stop. And they all went out the back way and left. Okay. And that's when that shit stopped. Okay, and I said I was gonna go to town. I was gonna break their cars. I was gonna fucking pummel them, and they all stopped.
So let's talk about the transcendence. I mean, because you won, you're a national headliner. You sell out. People fucking love you.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're teaching defensive driving. You got a girlfriend. You've had to defend yourself against a bunch of
assholes.
Yeah. Now, did you ever get called out? I mean, outside of the T-Sean to Shannon thing, was there ever another joke?
They would always say I rewrote the joke, so it's not the same. And yet they would never cite instance after instance. They had passed this on to the younger comedians coming up so much that one time I went back to Houston and I was there, and this comic who had some balls named Quinn Hatch came up to me and was calling me a joke thief and a fucking piece of shit, even though I hadn't been in Houston since he'd never done comedy. He'd never met me before. And he just heard from all these other comedians how I was a joke thief and an asshole.
God, what are we, a bunch of fucking girls?
Yeah.
I mean, what a bunch of gossipy it's amazing. Like, shouldn't these guys be doing something other than this?
Well, just watch me. I'm not doing anybody but me, okay? These jokes couldn't be written by anybody else but me, okay? All right? And they're not usual jokes, okay? Yeah. All right? And that was amazingly topical, and I was just pummeling. And Dougie Stanhope had taken me under his wing, and we met that night. You and Dougie were going bump for bump. It was a good time.
I'm trying to remember that. I
Dougie was living in his car, and he's stopped by Houston, and he was there, and Mitch and you and me. We all stayed at the Allen Park Inn and fucked that place up and had a great time. And Doug fucked the girl next to me.
Am I blacking this out? You sure it was me?
Mary.
Okay.
Mary. Stop. It was you. It was
right.
Really? No. It was a crazy thing, and all that drama stopped.
So what was the big career changer?
I gave Joey Medina, actually a Puerto Rican comedian, a ride from Houston to the Latino Laugh Festival in San Antonio because he was going to have to take a bus. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing nothing. I'll take you over there. And I had money. It wasn't a big deal. I was making tons of money and defense driving and stand up and working around. I would never leave Houston, and I could make $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And, then you had, minor drug sales. You had, working a day job to boot. I was doing all right. So I was like, yeah, I'll drive you over, man. And so I drove Joey over, and they heard about it, and he told people how nice it was that I drove him over instead of having to take a bus, that they gave me a spot. You could go up first on this showcase, and I went up at that comedy club right there on the Riverwalk, and got a standing ovation in 11 minutes.
It's a big room.
And everybody was there from the networks, and they had never seen anybody like me.
This is a Latino festival.
The Latino Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
Dominic Dunn from ABC was there. She gave me her card. All these guys gave me their cards. I got management. I got agency representation from there. They said, you have to come to Los Angeles. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Get your affairs together. And so I packed up everything into my Toyota 4Runner and moved to L.A. And I got to L.A. and Doug goes, hey, I got you a place to stay. And I'd come out here for like 3 months living on the floor of
floor?
Joe Medina's and Alex Raimundo's apartment. And they said, Ralphie, stay here. But Doug was like, get out of that. I got you a place at 1440 North Gardner, and you'll stay. It was his Matt Becker, his buddy, you'll sublease his house, but actually he wants to keep his stuff, so he's going to pay his rent. He's working in Alaska, all right, and you just stay there, no problem. So I stayed there for a year for free. I got settled. That's why I feel so much calmer to help other comedians. And these guys were terrific, man. I mean, Dougie made me this. He told me, he goes,
Stanhope?
Yeah, Doug Stanhope. He was like, you have to be in comedy clubs every night. Okay, when you first get here, go to every comedy club every night. And I met Joey Diaz, and Joey Diaz was like, yeah, come with me. I'll go and introduce you at the Comedy Store. And he introduced me at the Comedy Store, and that Sunday, this was a Saturday, Sunday I showcased for Mitzi, and then she made me a paid regular on the spot and gave me main room spots. And she said the only person she'd ever done that for besides me was Roseanne.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And then on Tuesday, I showcased at Jamie Masada's, the Laugh Factory, and I got passed there. I was doing 8 spots there, and then I went to the Improv, and I got passed there all in the same week. So in 1 week, I'm in L.A., and in the course of 4 days, I've already done like 16 spots, and over the course of the week, I've got 22 spots or 28 spots, something like that. I was doing 3 and 4 spots a night, 4 or 5 spots.
You were ready, I guess.
In LA, I was ready for it, but it was weird. And then I was working all the Latino rooms too, because I'd always been cool with these guys, and Latino and black rooms too. So I mean, when I hit LA in 99, 2000, I mean, Dan Cook was there, Mitch Mulaney, Alonzo Bowden. These were guys that were throwing heat, around LA, and I was going up right behind them or right in front of them. Like Dan Cook would get a standing ovation, and I go get another one. Then Dave Chappelle go up. I mean, or follow Chappelle after Dan Cook. It's like, motherfucker, for real. I mean, these guys are lights out, and it was just so much good comedy here, I mean, it was like I'd never been there, and I had none of that weight from anybody else. Nobody was giving me any shit. I wasn't called a joke thief. I was called an original.
Now, how much effect did your relationship with Jay Moore and the Last Comic Standing thing have on the popularity?
Oh, there's no question. Jay and I met in 2000 at the Laugh Factory. He hated me at first because I was doing this joke about how the Kennedys are just the stupidest people of all time, and he's very pro Kennedy, and I was saying all of them. Joe Kennedy had weak sperm, and I went through all the Kennedys, JFK.
So Jay gets pissed off.
Yeah, he gets mad, and I'm talking about, because this is like a week after JFK Jr.'s plane went down.
Oh, okay.
All right, and
so you're like me,
I'm fresh on it.
Yeah.
Like there's never a too soon. You know?
Sure.
And it was pilot error, and I said, who the happiest person in the world was? His ex-girlfriend, Daryl Hannah. All right, she
his
was
ex-girlfriend.
Like, yeah. So I'm so glad that motherfucker didn't marry me, and because I'd have been on that plane, and I said, and that's fucked up because that bitch was a mermaid. She could have saved his life. All right, and that's when Jay goes, oh, okay, I get it now. All right, I see his angle. All right, and he told me after, I hated you at that, and then you did that joke, and it was like this. So we started talking, and he goes, man, you're really fucking funny. I was really impressed. I love watching you. I don't get much joy out of watching other comedians, and that was really, really fucking great. And I'm like, thanks, man, no problem. And then the next day, I was, LA was hard. There's no money. You've been getting all these spots and you're doing all this work, but there's no money, in LA hardly. And I was working Latino rooms to try to make my rent and selling weed and doing what I could to hustle. And I didn't have much rent at this point. It was like $550 a month, and it wasn't that big a deal. But I didn't have money for my gas, and I didn't have valet tip money.
Yeah.
I didn't have money to waste. And so I was just walking from Gardner down to the Laugh Factory to go catch some spots. And Jay drove his truck by and stopped and goes, why are you fucking walking? And I'm like, because the truth. He goes, yeah, I don't have money for valet. I don't have money for gas. Okay. I just don't have money. You know, I got hit with a bunch of tickets and I'm fucked. And he goes, why don't you have money? And I'm like, because I just don't, dude. I mean, it's hard. You know, I do all these spots and I don't get paid for them, or you get $30. You know, it's like, what the fuck is that going to do? You know? Yeah. And he was like, fuck that. And get in the car, first of all right? So we get in the car, all right? And he called up Matt Frost, his agent, and goes, hey, my new opener's Ralphie May. All those improv gigs that I got, Ralphie May's my new opener, okay? Make it happen. And boom, he booked me 16 weeks of work right there. And I'd never been able to get into the improvs because even though I was a killer feature act, none of these fucking titty baby, lazy fucking headliners wanted to follow it.
Yeah.
All right? They don't want to follow somebody getting a standing ovation. And that's what I told Jay. I go, the improvs won't work me because I'm too strong for their acts, and yet I don't have any TV credits, so I can't get on their stage as a headliner. And he's like, fuck that. I want to be pushed. All right? You come work with me and you kill every show. And he let me do it. And he introduced me to all these clubs that would have me close Wednesday, Thursday. He'd do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and drop down to feature. So I'd make an extra $500 right there. He was paying my air. He took care of me. And when he got more sports, he goes, I want to give you a chance to be a writer. You're a great writer. You've been writing jokes for me. And so I got to be on a writing staff for a year. Which was amazing. And it's weird because, like that summer, he goes, I got this show, called Comic House. And when it comes out, I want you to do it. That's the name of the pilot. It was called Comic House.
For Last Comic.
For Last Comic Standing, yeah. And he mentioned it once and then didn't mention it again. I'm in Hawaii. I'm headlining, the Laugh Factory Honolulu. And my girlfriend is with me. And she's featuring, and we're having a blast, vacation. This is Thursday. I've been there since Tuesday, having such an amazing time. On Thursday, Jay calls and goes, hey, I need you to come and audition for this show. And I'm like, what show? He goes, remember that show Comic House? I go, yeah, it's called Now and Last Comic Standing. Okay? And I want you to come in. And I go, okay, when? And he goes, on Saturday. As in 2 days Saturday? And he goes, yeah. It's an invitation only event. And I go, well, Jay, you're the EP, right? And he goes, yeah, just put me on it, dude.
Yeah.
All right? You know I work. I mean, who knows my act better than you? If you think I'm great for it, then I'll be great for it. And he goes, no, NBC won't let me pick anybody. You have to come and do it. And I'm like, okay, all right, who am I auditioning for? Bob and Ross from the Tonight Show. And I'm like, man, I know those guys. They just saw me last week. They love me. And he goes, well, you got to audition again under the everything. And I'm like, oh, man, all right. God, I don't know if I can, Jay. I'm working in Hawaii and I don't have enough money to, let me see the airfare. I'll call you back.
Yeah.
So my wife and I look up the airfare, and the airfare is like $850. I'm only making $1,200 for the week. Yeah. All right. And that's just to get there and come back to be able to finish the week, to, you know, so I don't leave them hanging. And my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, goes, you can't afford this, can you? I go, no. She goes, I want you to know I believe in you. And I think you're going to kill this fucking thing. So I'm going to put it on my credit card. And I'm going to fly you back, and you go do the audition, and you knock yourself out. And I was like, are you serious? Her share of the rent was only $600. She's going to give me $850 on a maybe. Mm-hmm. And so I flew back, and I was so mad 'cause it was a red eye. I had done the show on Friday night and got on a plane and came to back to LA, and just tired and fucking pissed and mad, and I go over to the goddamn valley to NBC and standing around with these fucking comics, and everybody's wackadoo, and I'm like, I'm just in fucking general irritability. Yeah. And they tell me that, you know, my 5-minute audition is now 3 minutes. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? All right. So I go out there, and they're doing the auditions on Johnny Carson's old stage, which is behind the Tonight Show stage. Okay. Which is actually a small stage. This is huge. Yeah. So I get in, and it's my turn. I go for a walk. I walk all the way onto the stage, and I'm mad because they made me walk this whole fucking way too. Okay, I'm just mad. So my first line goes, "You cocksuckers, give me 3 minutes. It takes me a minute and a half to get my fat ass up here." Whose bright idea was it to put the fucking stage 150 yards away from the fucking door when you got 3 minutes? All right, and then I just started on, and they go. And at a minute 15, they go, "Stop, Ralph, stop." And I'm like, "You fucking assholes. I just flew from Hawaii." No, Ralph, we want you to come back. Okay. You're moving on. You did everything we needed you to do. You're terrific. Okay. I'm like, "Are you serious?" "Yeah." "I got something?" "Yeah." I just come off the heels of.
It was just how many people were in the room?
5,
Ugh.
and I had all 5 people dying. Okay, Bob and Ross and a camera guy and a AD, and
Jay?
No, Jay wasn't even in there. And Jay was sleeping in.
Yeah,
Jay was sleeping in. Motherfucker, I was up early. All right, and I filled out all this paperwork, and I saw so many comics that had passed and got like that fan never would have done that if Ken Jeong had gotten advice from Levity to do the show. He saw all the paperwork, and as a doctor, he wasn't prepared to give up his doctor gig. Okay, and he could have made it even sooner than when he has made it. Isn't it wonderful though?
Yeah.
He's made it. I love that.
Well,
story.
he did it a different way. It's probably
he did
better
it a different
off.
way. It's better in the long run his way.
So that was the year. So you got on Last Comic Standing, first season.
Yeah, got on, and that audition was on Saturday. Tuesday, I was back from Hawaii at the Laugh Factory. Did that place, got a standing ovation. And went to Las Vegas the next morning. And then we shot in Vegas 2 days. And then by Friday, I was living in the house and hadn't been home. And Jay pulled me to the side after Vegas, and he goes, "NBC's here, right?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You need to know something. We had a meeting yesterday in Los Angeles, and they are very nervous how good you're doing. They've never had anyone your size on primetime television before, and they're very nervous that you will do well in this and last longer, and they think that this is going to bring down the show." He goes, "You have to give them a standing ovation every time. The audience has to speak that they can't get you off. If it's close at all, you're gone."
So because you're a fat guy again, they want to push you out because they think you're unappealing.
Yeah. And I knew it was true because I just that was in February was when the Last Comic happened. In January, I had auditioned at the Laugh Factory with 20 comedians, and fellow Pablo Francisco, who was a beast at the time, and Dane Cook, who hadn't hit what he's doing now, but was just fucking amazing. And we were showcasing for Conan O'Brien, and I went up 16th and got the only standing O in 5 minutes. And so we're all in the lobby, and a bunch of comics are hanging out and talking to the booker, and Dane Cook, to his credit, goes, "So when are you going to put Ralphie on? Ralphie should be the first one, but after him, when can the rest of us get on?" And the guy goes, "Actually, I can't put Ralphie on." And Dane was like, "What?" And Dane started pressing the point. "What do you mean? Why not? He just fucked this place up. Got a standing ovation." And he goes, "He's just not the right size."
Really?
Yeah. And
isn't that lawsuit shit?
It should be, but it's not. They have their choice to discriminate against whoever they want to put on their network. And that was a hard lesson to learn, man. That
so now you
in
go
a game that you think is equal. That all that matters is what the crowd.
Never thought it was equal.
Well,
but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but there's a certain you make your own.
But
picture.
this isn't stand up. This is television.
Yeah.
So now you got this fire in your fucking brain.
Right. And I've got this defeatist attitude that I'm fucking done, and then.
But you had to kill.
I had to kill, and that's why I did different jokes every time, and I got a standing ovation every time I performed on that whole show, and I still came in second.
But that was politics.
I probably, yeah. The show was recut. There was recut.
But are you bitter about that?
Good God, no, man. If this is getting robbed, it's like my fans. Once or twice a day, I'll get people still tell me you got fucked on Last Comic Standing. But what happened was, the only thing I can liken it to is 1988 when the first heavy metal heavy metal Grammy Award was given instead to Metallica, who was transforming heavy metal.
Yeah.
Was given to Jethro Tull, a band with a fucking flute. And then after that, their sales went through the roof. Because after I on Last Comic Standing, I came in second. My album, the pre-sale was like 500,000 units for DVDs and CDs total. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
And that was the pre-sale. And then it went platinum within, it was released in November. By mid-December, it was already over 1 million units sold. Target picked it up. Walmart picked it up. All these big box stores, Best Buy picked it up. And so I moved that many units off of being, and then I went from, making, $800 a week or to $1,200 a week headliner to pulling down 10, 15,000 and then up from there,
And that was right after Last Comic.
Right after Last Comic.
Well, shit, so you've had a good run and you're still having it.
Yeah, I just keep on putting out albums, Mark.
How many have you got out?
4 now, and I'm taping October 1st another Comedy Central album. I've got this one's going to be really good, man. This one's going to be, it's transcendent stand-up. It's more social. It's talking examples about like the Arizona law against Mexicans and how it's just race-based and talking about that. I'm talking about gays in the military. I'm talking about how our government uses racism as a hologram to keep us looking at each other instead of looking at them, seeing what they're doing. Gulf of Tonkin incident didn't happen. It was white versus black, and I get blame where it is, but I also share in that story about meeting a Mexican kid, 1984, a Mexican guy who came to our town, first Mexican I ever met, May 17th, 1986, and he knocked on our door and said for $10 he'd mow the yard, and I said, well, how about for 12 you edge the driveway too? My mama gave me $20 to do it, so fuck it. I just made $8 and didn't have to do it. It's terrific. Welcome to America. That's capitalism. I'm a supervisor now, right? So afterwards we get done. I take him out a big old glass of water and he in broken English, I asked him, how'd you get here? So that was the first Mexican I ever met, and he explained that it was hard, but it was like his 2-year-old daughter had died from drinking bad water, and then the day after the funeral, he and his family packed up everything they had and walked to America, 5 days to the desert, and that was like a month ago, and here he was in my little town pushing a lawnmower, and I just thought that was the most incredible story I'd ever heard, and I went around with him around the neighborhood and shared that. But I talk about that and how, there's...
Did you give him the other $8?
Fuck no. But hey, that was a deal. That was made. Okay, that money was spent. But I did walk with him and get him more business.
All right.
And he would mow my yard for free. So ultimately, it all worked out great. I made more money after that. But, it's something that, you need to transcend these stories. You need to personalize it and make it something better. But I'm also taking on the word nigger. After 40-something years of equal rights in this country, presumed equal rights, we still leave a loaded gun out there for our children, and I'm trying to remove the gun. And it's a big undertaking, and it's a battle. It's self-righteous, and in this next album, I'm trying to start my own religion, an updated Christianity that doesn't require the hypocrisy of a church. And I got a gospel choir, and it's going to be a fucking big undertaking.
The Gospel of Ralphie May. Coming soon.
Comedy Central probably in February is what they're telling me. And this one might end up